Hey, hello everybody. How's it going? Hot day here today. We're heading to summer, which means obviously the things are a little bit thin on the ground sometimes, but we're here for Sonic Talk, which is the music technology podcast. We talk about all things to do with music technology, software, hardware, synthesizers, drum machines, live performance, streaming, all sorts of stuff you will find us talking about here. Before I get us going, I just wanted to give you a bit of a shout out for our coming up. Let me just get my thing. We've got Moog Messenger, which is going live at 6 p.m. today on YouTube. If you're a Patreon supporter, you will have already seen that because I set it up early. There's also 18 sampled instruments from the Messenger, which sound great, actually. And that's using our new UI from Venus Theory. You get a peek at that if you're a Patreon supporter, so thank you very much. And just to remind you about being a Patreon supporter, I'll play the Patreon ad. Why not? It's 2025 and our Patreon keeps getting better thanks to our supporters. Thank you so much. There's ad-free versions of much of what we post on YouTube, Sonic Talk pre-show, Sonic Lab extra videos, the ever-expanding Sonicstate archives, including classics like the top 20 greatest samplers. There's Patreon Discord, a monthly hangout, the excellent members map, impulse responses from classic and unusual reverbs, and a growing collection of patches and samples in decent sampler format, including some great Moog-mu samples. In fact, the music you're listening to now by Paulie Bow was made using our sample sets. So why not consider supporting us and keep us doing what we do? Head over to patreon.com/Sonicstate. Yes, indeed. Why ever not? So I think what I was in the middle of saying what was coming up. Dolby interview. I'm going to go on Friday with that. That's ready to go. Some great nuggets in there. Again, if you're a Patreon supporter, I'll stick that live on Patreon tomorrow as a preview to our paid tiers, as a little thank you and something to keep you going for the summer. What else? Oh yeah, we've got the Donna L1. The SH101 is come in for review. We've got a post on Instagram if you want to go and comment there, if you want to find out anything about it. So, yeah, let's get on to our guests. So, starting off with Robin Vincent. There he is, Robin Vincent.
Hello.
Modular, Molten Music Tech in his shed. I'm sure there's no air conditioning, but I bet it's nice and cool still. Is it? No, it's not. You're not under a
It's
leafy
cool
tree
in the
or
mornings. Yeah, it's cool in the mornings, to the point where you have to take a jumper with you, and then it's sweltering in the afternoons. At the moment, it's all right. I'm not going to take my shirt off or anything. I'll sweat it out.
Okay, well, I wasn't actually going to ask you to, but nice to offer, I guess. But hold on. Anyway, lovely to have you, Robin. Molten Monthly. When does that go out? What time of month does that go out?
We're right in the middle, but in between them, so it goes right at the end. I try to squeeze it in just as the month disappears. So it's instantly out of date because you're into July and you're looking at the June one. So, but that's just the way it seems to have panned out. So, I'm a couple of weeks off that. So I'm in the middle of trying to actually get some real work done.
Oh, that's a tricky one. Well, anyway, lovely to have you, Robin. A welcome guest as ever. We also have UAD Nevo, who's there in his studio. Nevo Sound, where you can see the delightful collection of beautiful equipment. UAD, how are you doing?
Yeah, very well. Very well, thank you. It's been a while. I've been very busy. I'm working on 3 Dolby Atmos albums at the same time. So it's quite full on, plus other stuff that I'm doing, plus my YouTube channel, as you know, which is going surprisingly well.
Yeah, it's going great.
Yeah, and by the way, tomorrow at 6, after many requests, the video about my vocal channel is finally coming out tomorrow, and so I guess you can see the link on my picture.
Oh yeah, is that your kind of go-to vocal channel, sort of your preset, or is it something?
Each song requires different treatment, but there are some elements that I mainly use, like a sort of obviously de-esser and a vintage compressor emulation, like an LA2A or something like that. I always use something like that, and I use the Waves Renaissance channel. But I talk about all that in the video.
So it's post-recording rather than a recording channel. Is that what?
Yeah, that's my mix chain.
Gotcha.
local chain.
Excellent.
Yeah, and a lot of
Cool.
other stuff. So yeah, very, very busy time, but I'm enjoying it.
Good. Well, I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear it. It's always good to have. I mean, it's nice to have a little bit of quiet time in the summer. Although that does mean you're out of air conditioning, which, when it gets hot, it's sort of maybe a blessing sometimes to be but stuck in an air conditioned studio. Not so much here. I go on about this every year, don't I? But and it's starting to get hot. But hey, I'm going to try and keep it to a minimum. And we've also got. Let me see. Ta-da! Mr. Gaz Williams. Gaz Williams, of course, YouTuber, bass player. And anniversary, so 15 years. This is the 15th anniversary show, which is amazing.
Yes. Wow. Oh, great. So half of Sonic's life. So yeah. My first appearance on Sonic was on the 23rd of June 2010. So yeah, so almost to the day, 15 years. So I think Monday, is it next week, would be. But yeah, wow.
I do have. Would you like to see? Or well, I can't see it because I've only got an audio version of this, but I found it. So just hear how your voice has changed a little bit. So I'll see if I can play this.
Hi, everybody.
If it was going to work. Never mind. Let's see.
You changed a lot, Gaz.
It's changed a lot, hasn't it? Let me see. That's why. For some reason, let's try again. No, hold on. I'm going to do it. I'm determined for this to work.
Just
press harder.
Bugger.
It was a podcast only. It was only. I mean, it was just an audio podcast back in those days.
It was. I'm trying to find. It played earlier, so I don't know why it's not playing now. But hey, these things happen, don't they? Let me just see if I can find it quickly. I'm determined. Here we go. Let's hear. So this is. Should be playing.
Sonic.
Hearing it? Oh, here we go. So this is ready for that. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Sonic Talk number 179. We are broadcasting live as the England-UK versus is it Slovenia? Slovenia match is going on. So I think there's a lot of problems with live streaming video. So I'm really sorry if people aren't getting this stream, but I think the internet is clogged up. But if you are, the place to come and see us, because we've now got a live stream with multi-camera, all sorts of graphics overlays. Sonicstate.com/live, 4 p.m. every Wednesday is where to do it. Okay, and we've got chat room and everything. We've been using Ustream. Worked fine last week. This week, I think just due to internet traffic, there's going to be a bit of glitches. But we've got a new guest in the form of Gaz Williams. Hello, Gaz.
Hello.
Gaz is a music producer and engineer, musician from Bristol, with a tinge of Welsh.
I am Welsh, but I live in Bristol.
And we got in touch with him because we lent Tara a piece of equipment and Gaz brought it over.
That's right. And I work with Tara. We kind of...
Yes. Anyway, it's great fun. It sounds quite surprisingly good, but everybody's voice. Maybe there's a sample rate thing. Everybody's
I was going to say, is it sample rated?
And also
48 to 44.
You think it's a bit?
I think
that's just I was really hyped.
Things swing lower as you get older, though, don't they? So maybe
this is true.
Something to do with that. Or all the, the ravages of the years have taken their toll.
But Gaz, lovely. I mean, a nice reminder of. This year is as you also said, is our 30th anniversary. In fact, we're going to have a load of stuff coming up. We're planning a kind of series of things to sort of celebrate that. So stay tuned. I'm going to be giving away some of these new Venus Theory sample instruments and stuff. Obviously, we're going to use it to try and promote people, to get people over to our Patreon and to sign up for things. But you can't blame us. Well. So I'm just trying to remember, because you came over and you basically sort of invited yourself into the Sonic talk thing, but after it
wasn't that way round.
A conversation, it was you. I remember,
no, you
I remember
invited
you saying
me.
I did, but I remember you saying that you couldn't believe that we'd never met before because we were so kind of close geographically.
Yeah, and a lot because Tara, she was. Just so she had been living in Britain. She's American, and she was going back to America, and that's what had happened was we'd been working together on like a soundtrack or something, and you'd lent her a TC Helicon voice processor to have a look at. And then she was going back to the States. And then so she said to me, oh, look, I haven't got time to go back to go to give this to Nick. You know, if there's any way I can leave it with you and you can maybe post it. And I rang you and I said, oh, hi, my name's Gaz, blah, blah, blah. And then I said, well, I'm happy to, because what was great for me was I used to listen to the podcast and I used to love it. So I was really happy to come over. And I said, oh, I'll bring it over. And you said, oh, well, actually, this is the day we're doing the podcast. So if you want, and then you invited me on it.
I remember it being fairly immediate and sort of like sudden.
I just felt like me shoehorning my way into your show. It wasn't quite like that, but I was dead happy to take part, though, as I say, because I used to love that podcast.
That was in the old office, wasn't it? The old the one in the centre of town, in the old Georgian part of the UK, which they now use that part of Bath for Jane Austen and period dramas.
Well, I do remember having to have the windows open because it was like today, a sweltering hot day, and of course the football match was on at that time, World Cup game, and every so often, I think England won that game, didn't they? Or I think maybe once, perhaps. It was a gigantic, I think they won 1-0, but it was a gigantic cheer that kind of came through the window during the podcast. Yes. I don't know if you can actually hear that, but yeah.
And the rest, as they say, is history, because obviously now, it's been. I wonder. It's the sort of thing that AI could find out, isn't it? How many times you've been on the show? I'd probably just need to feed it the RSS feed and kind of give. Maybe I should get a sort of tally. So we've got like, because I think that another podcast I listened to, the Twit Network, they've been doing all that sort of stuff because they did. Oh yeah, gosh, I think they did their 1,000th episode.
There is something I'd like to mention though about that time frame, like. If you were to look at 2010 and look at what products were available and look at it now in 2025 and just by, that particular 15 years has just completely transformed things. I mean, that first decade of the new millennium was dominated by software and MIDI controllers, and hardware was quite minimal. But of course, I think it was in 2009, I think the Monotron came out from Korg. So just a little bit before that 2010 thing. But it was like, in a way, the Monotron was something that set our whole wheels into motion to where we are today. So I think for that 15 years since I've been involved with Sonic, we've just seen just the most enormous change in terms of
analog renaissance as well in many ways at the same time as software.
And also just all sorts of things. It's just exploded in terms of hardware. I mean, I think, I'm not sure if the Mini Brute had come out at that point, but that Mini Brute was another of those total kind of
later, way later.
A little bit later.
That was here, because I reviewed that here. I think I reviewed that here.
Okay,
what I recall.
But I mean, I think the Mini Brute was another one of the kind of new era kind of stuff. But I just think it just happens to be that time period, because is quite interesting to reflect on just how much has changed in that time.
Yeah, no, interesting for sure. I mean, there's. Do you want to know what we talked about that episode? I've got here. I just pasted the notes. We talk of a brilliant piece from yesteryear with synth legend David Voorhaus. I think that might have been that. Is that one where he's got that massive phallic controller?
Oh, I think you're right. Yeah. But we also
Tin Can Contact mics spawn a discussion on the use of tatty old gear for that certain sound.
Right.
And then we marvel at PPG Wave 2.3 on eBay in Australia, and look at Richie Horton's amazingly complex setup for a recent gig. So almost no gear at all. So that's the summer drought is just is a perennial thing. So that's kind of funny. But it's great to have you, Gaz, obviously, and great to have your continued involvement. It's as with everybody, much appreciated. We do have some things to talk about.
I've been on the show for like 8 or at least 8 years, if not 9. Coming to think of it, it's it's not as much as 15, but it's also probably around 80 or 100 shows or something.
Wow. Okay. Blimey, I didn't know that. That's astonishing. Well, Robin, I think you must have done at least 5 years, maybe.
You think?
I don't know.
Really?
At
Cool.
least.
Crikey. I don't know.
To
Possibly.
some, that's a life sentence.
Yeah. I feel like I'm a new boy.
Anyway, no, great fun. All right, let's see if any of my other topics are going to work. So we got a new synth from UAD. Does anyone want to see what that's all about? Let's go. Yeah, it looks like kind of virtual analog. They're going for the old fat analog sound. To say, okay, like a dream. So, UAD news. It's an interesting one, isn't it? This, because in many ways, as the rest of the world is heading into kind of slightly more interesting synthesis techniques with their new synths, whether it be accessing FM or, granular or whatever, and Universal Audio sort of gone down the tried and tested route. I'm trying to think what was their previous synth that sounded pretty nice. And this is, again, it's a native one. It's 149. I just can't help but feel like it's a hard sell because there's no newness about it. So I don't know whether or not it's going to fly as well at 149. Although Universal Audio have got a massive user base, and I guess there are people who will just buy anything that they do. But I wonder if they'll have enough sort of new customers to sort of make it an interesting thing. But it's got to be tough to kind of innovate it every time. And I guess their thing is is vintage. I think it's a 2 oscillator. I don't know. It's interesting. Gaz, I saw you nodding in agreement there. It's a tough sell, perhaps.
Yeah, I read the Synth Anatomy review of it, and I think that was the kind of conclusion, and it does sound great. All Universal Audio stuff does sound great, so I suppose it's got that on its side. But I remember we were talking, or you were mentioning how difficult it is to get excited about another subtractive synth hardware, so let alone a software one. It's it's a very crowded market, and there's so much amazing stuff, like free stuff as well, that it's competing against. So tough. But I'm guessing that it's the UAD brand is just so powerful that what UAD have always managed to do is sort of be kind of cool. Like a lot of kind of people kind of really buy into the coolness of UAD. So that's something that that's a really powerful thing that they've got in their marketing. At the NAMM show, the UAD thing that they have, the displays there are always really hip, aren't they? They
were not so much. I don't think they were there last time in any sort of because they used to do the sort of $500,000 booth with all the streaming and all the producers and everything. They haven't done it the last couple of times.
I think the last time I was at NAMM was a while ago. I think it was 2020, just before the lockdown, and they were just launching their door that's not a door. And that was so it was.
That's right. That was a tough message. That was such a hard message to say.
Yeah, and I think that was a.
It's not a door, but it is. Well, it kind of is.
It was a door. It was. So however, I don't know how popular that's been. I don't know anybody who uses it.
There's quite a lot of people who's still into it. Yeah, I think so.
I'm sure it's really good. I've never tried it, but I was just thinking that marketing thing at the time, the thing in NAMM was just really great. It looked so good. All of the beautiful sort of display they had that. I was kind of thinking, I'm interested in this, not because I am actually interested in it, just because it could be let into the cool gang, sort of thing.
Yeah, it's interesting. It is interesting. I think, it's. I don't know about you. Do you remember? There are fewer instruments that come out that people sort of go, "Ooh, that's right." G-Force do it, and I think remember Monarch from Native Instruments. That on the face of it was just like a mini, wasn't it? But it just had a thing, and I guess that's what you sort of need.
It had this thing, but it's funny that you mention it because I have the UAD Minimo plugin, and I compared it. I did an A/B against the Monarch, and the UAD one is so much better. It just, it sounds so beefy, and that's what I'm hearing about this new synth as well. And I own another one of theirs, the previous polyphonic one, which again, there's nothing special about it on paper, like, when you see the list of features and stuff, but it just sounds great. And this one seems to sound really good as well. Also, it's all about the presets. When back in the day when I used to have more time, whenever I used to buy a synth, I used to erase everything and start from scratch and build my own libraries and all that. But I think that most people just preset browse. They just browse through presets, and you want to get something done, and you want to get inspired, and you want to get ideas, and it's a lot of it is about the presets. And when you have something that sounds good, it's not really about whether it's a wavetable or granular or this or something.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, if it sounds good and you just dial a few presets and you're happy, then that's what it's all about. I think that most of us here in this on this in this room, but also the viewers, what being synth head really is about doing this and saying wow, and doing this and saying wow, and then most of the time that's where it ends, because whether it makes it onto a track or not, it's just the thrill of playing something and being kind of admiring the sound and the sonic kind of experience, and that's what it's about. And it gives me a lot of joy, whether I use it in a track or not. So it's that thing. And if a synth or plugin or hardware or whatever gives you that experience, then that's what it's all about. And the art of creating something like that is about tapping into that feeling that you can convey to the user.
Yeah,
and I think that UAD are very good at that. I love their plugins, and I use them all the time for mixing. They're just great, and I'm sure that this synth, I mean, from just that demo, it sounds amazing. So I don't care about what the technology or what. The one thing that I do wonder, it seems like it's monophonic, and they say it can be 4-voice paraphonic.
Yeah.
Which the only explanation I can give, I'm guessing, but since they have also hardware platforms like the Apollo and all those, and probably they don't want to clog those up, so they limit the number of voices. So the people who use it in native will not benefit more.
I don't know if this. I don't know. Does this run on Apollo? I don't know if it does, because I thought it was just native, but maybe I'm wrong. That's a good point.
Okay, I'm just guessing here.
No, so I mean that's puzzling, isn't it? Paraphonic. I mean, you can absolutely understand that if it's having to rely on its own DSP, but with the resources available on a modern computer, that is a real chin scratcher.
Yeah. So obviously it's a decision, rather than a limitation. But
yeah, maybe so. I know, Robin.
Yeah, I think
soft synths get exciting for you these days.
Yeah, they do still. I'm afraid. I think Yoad makes some good points on how you get overwhelmed by the joy of a new thing as opposed to whether it needs to exist or not. I think that's a secondary question. I think we get inspired by whatever senses it kind of pulls you into. I mean, I think the UAD stuff just looks excellent. The presentation is fantastic. Similar to Softtube, I have a similar feeling from them. Just the way that their stuff looks really adds to the way that you can navigate it creatively. I mean, the layout of this, for instance, I mean, although we've seen it all before, it is really nicely laid out. I really approve of the differences in the knobs, how they've the choices that they've made, the graphical choices, the modulation choices they've made over how the outside ring of the knob shows the modulation, whereas the inside shows the actual value at the time. Little things like that. I like the chicken feet. I can't remember what they're called, those weirdo knobs for the oscillator octaves, things like that. Those things appeal to me. I appreciate the design choices they've used in the interface, and that does honestly entice me into using it and to having a play and to being involved in what it does. I think the paraphonic thing is absolutely a choice. I think it's they're designed to make it feel different. Why does everything need to have 16 voices? I think I've been just yesterday I was reviewing the Nobler Monumatic, and that has like a MIDI mode which gives you an 8-voice synthesizer, and this is in a Eurorack module, but there's a mono mode that you can use via CV because you can't use a polyphony via CV. But because you have to switch into mono mode, it gives it a very, very different feel, and you automatically use it differently. And I think in restricting it to be paraphonics, you're not just doing big chords all the time. You're actually having to think about how you're using it, think about how that filter is working on those voices. And that gives you a different vibe, a different avenue, a different way of creating a sound. So, it's just another thing. So it enables you and leads you down a road of creativity that perhaps another synth doesn't do. And if you're trying to find something in a crowded market, then heck, that's worth pursuing, I think.
But that could be a mode rather than, the only way of operation. So it could be a polyphonic synth with a paraphonic mode, in order to get those.
Maybe that's just more work, I suppose. I'm just going to take a quick break. We'll be back after this message. Take your tracks over the finish line with the iZotope Summer Sale. Save up to 50% on Pro Audio tools. Deals to get the job done. Just head over to iZotope.com. Right, so what's next? I mean, there are more topics. Let me just flip back to my other screen. I don't know whether I wanted to go to this yet. I might save this rather down topic till another point in the show, or maybe not. We'll see. Okay, there's a couple of drum synths came out. Ohm Force, who we know for been a big French software developer for many years. I remember they did the Fromage. They did. Didn't they do a sort of? They did a sort of. They tried to do a sort of big online collaborative DAW type of thing,
yeah.
Which I don't know how well it went. But now they've done some hardware. So let's have a listen to the. Let's check the hardware out. Okay, here it comes.
Hi everybody, this is Andre. I've been waiting to record this.
That's not it at all, is it?
You keep bringing that up. What is it?
It's very insistent, this video, isn't it? It just wants to... Yeah, I'll play this one. This will do it. There we go. Sorry about that. So this is called Bohm. It's a kick synthesizer. Well, I'm not quite sure why the person is wearing surgical gloves, but hey ho, each to their own.
Maybe it's toxic.
Maybe it's toxic. Maybe the knobs are covered in old LSD. No, I think so this is an interesting one. It does the thing that that many of these kick synthesizers do, but it's got a bunch of different models in it, and there's quite a lot of areas. I think it's got some effects in it. It's got what else did it have?
I like this.
It's got a nice 321 pounds. It's quite a departure. It's available July. There's a couple of companion modules to it, where you can see on the side the Bohm Groove and I think the Bohm Performer. So I kind of quite like the look of this. I mean, I come to you first, Robin, because obviously, you're embedded in modular world to a degree. I mean, these specialized kick modules they're a thing, aren't they? I mean, there's a lot of them around. There's a growing number, and many people. I mean, I was talking to Maiden in Berlin, and just the getting the kick right for those kind of techno sets is such a big thing. It's worth dedicating something to this. So this is, I guess, there's room for this kind of thing going on, right?
Yeah, there is. I mean, I flip flop on this quite a bit because I can't quite decide because when it comes down to it and I reach for a kick sound, I just want a kick sound. I don't want to be fussing around trying to program an entire synthesizer kick necessarily. I just want to turn a flipping kick on. So there's that element in me, but at the same time you can sit down and just lose yourself entirely just making squeaky noises that sort of originate from a kick, from that boom. I mean, the sound coming off this is pretty intense, I think. And it's a little bit, I mean, I'm often playing around with analog kicks almost exclusively, I suppose, which ultimately can sound just a little bit sort of samey and normal, whereas this is really punching through. I mean, maybe that has something to do with the performer module on the side that's compressing it, but it's a very powerful sound coming through that. And people love this sort of thing. There's a lot of modules now, a lot of kick drum in particular, that gives you a lot of scope. My reservation slightly is just that you'll end up spending far too much time crafting something. I mean, obviously the kick's important, but how important is it to spend that much time finding that perfect thing? I mean, I reviewed last week. Hang on. This thing here, which is the AR110 from Amitech, and it's just 5 sounds, no controls, analog, kick, snare, hi-hat, and cymbal tom, I think. Claps, that's the one. And it has no controls whatsoever, so you just have to use the kick that's there. And it was really interesting wrapping my head around the idea that I can't tweak anything. There's no tweaking. It's just those sounds that are there with a level control. But often that's kind of what you want. You just want sounds that you can turn on and use on one hand. On the other hand, do you? Maybe that's terrible and that lack of versatility is ridiculous. I don't know. I think both these things are allowed to exist. But from this point of view, they are actually sending one in. So I'm looking forward to giving this a go. I'm not loving the screen as a... because that's not really what I want in a Eurorack module, but heck, everything else is looking really interesting.
Yeah. I know, Gaz, you don't really go for the sort of the derivative beat sort of thing in your set so much, so perhaps it's less of a thing, but I mean, just having some form of drum, because you had was it not the performer, what was the Vimona drum thing?
Oh yeah, I got the Vimona, yeah, although sadly not, I think I'm going to sell that now though, because it's just not getting used. But really good. But no, I've got a lot of drums actually. I've gone quite big on drums, although less so with my live rig. Although no, I do have quite a bit in my live rig too. I was kind of like thinking about it. In my main live rig, I've got a 2 HP kick. And I was just looking, this takes up a lot of your rig. If you're using a Eurorack module rig live, and especially if you've got both expanders, this is the biggest kick in town, isn't it? I mean, it's because so you've got the left expander and the right expander. I was just trying to get my head around that. So like the central module itself, which is the kick sound, is still a really big module. Obviously, in a lot of like a techno setup, the kick is, I don't know, at least half of the whole sound of a techno rig. So you could argue that the kick does deserve all of this all this HP space. But I mean, I was kind of curious looking at it, thinking, can you use it as a voice? I can't see a volt per octave input on there.
I see.
I'm sure
I wonder, that would be an interesting thing to add.
Possibly can, but it looks like it's really kind of laser focused in what it's trying to do, which I think is kind of cool. Guys, it's quite an interesting one. I have got a few kick modules. I've got the Erica Kick 2, or no, something like that, which is quite big, and it doesn't make it into my live rig because it's big. It's about 12 HP, but I mean that's a tiddler compared to this one. So
there's the Kick Aim. Was the Kick Aim? Was that?
That's about 12 or 14, 12 HP maybe. That's a kind of popular.
That's more of an output module, though. I would say it's more of an output module, mastering module with a kick built in.
Right. Okay.
The Dasbrum, though, from the sadly departed.
HP. Yeah, that's a really cool module.
Winter.
So I think I think for some people who build their set around a techno kind of, techno heads, really, this
makes sense.
is in a way the most glorious kick there is. I think my favorite kick that I've heard, though, of any kicks is the WMD Crater. That thing is a great name because it does sound like just enormous booms, gigantic kick sound. And I thought that was a little on the big side. Again, that's probably about 10 or 12.
Well, it's a bit of, when you're doing live stuff, I guess it's a thing. I know, Yoad, part of me thinks, you could spend a long time going through, basically, you could spend a lot of time going through samples of kicks. Would it not be quicker just to have something like this? You could kind of quickly squidge it up. Yeah, that's the one, and then sample it or something.
I would absolutely use something like that. I love the way it sounds. If I had it just here, I love, VST synths and stuff. Although I have a lot of analog stuff, I find myself just using, plugins mostly. And I do have some software kick, generators like in Machine, and Logic has their own one, and I have another one or two which I. But there's something about dialing in the kick in a plugin, which it almost sounds too sample accurate, and then it doesn't. I find that they don't really come out of the speaker as much as I want, and this one sounds like just recording it, going analog, and the fact that you can dial it in. I think that if I had something like that, I would use it all the time because I go through many kicks, and that's the kind of thing that you want. But also, it sounds to me like the choices they made on the controllers are very musical and very clever, and it sounds like it will work really well as a sort of big house kick and all that, but also in conjunction with acoustic samples, because sometimes you find a sample where you get the skin and you get the room and you get that as a part of a live kit even, but sometimes you want to augment it with some lows or some punch or something, and that could really fit in with that. So I think it's a really cool, and obviously I don't have the however many HP it is, I don't mind because it's still very small, and that's something that I could easily fit here. And then I think that I would use something like that all the time. So for me, it's actually very interesting.
Yeah.
There was the Patching Panda thing that we saw at Bristronica. I don't know if they're out yet. They did a series of drums, didn't they? And that's the kick sounded really good. I seem to remember on that. I've forgot the range of them, but that's worth a shout out. I mean, I suppose the more you think about it, there are quite a few of them, aren't there? I mean, there are a number. So yeah. I guess fill your boots.
None quite so comprehensive and as big as this one.
Yeah.
Though, I think.
No, perhaps not. But yeah, I mean, it's a brave move to go from software to hardware. I did resist the smutty headline, of course. But whenever software companies go hardware, it's always easy to plough that field, as it were. But I didn't.
Well done.
Right. Yeah. Okay. There was also the Luma Linn voice, wasn't there? I wonder if this works. I mean, it may well not. We may as well cover it while we can, which is might raise a few interesting. We'll just cover it very quickly.
Hey everyone, this is Blake Eisman, and
That's not it at all. Okay, fair enough. I think I've got everything wrong.
No, I think it is that one. Deft Audio. Isn't it that guy?
No, it wasn't. It was Deft Audio, but when I want to play it, it doesn't play.
Yeah.
I mean, go figure. The Deft Audio one, yeah. Basically, this guy. Let me see if I could probably just play it. I'll get it going. Yeah, 13, go. Go on then. There we go. This is basically, as far as I can tell, it's like an EEPROM chip from a Linn that they bought a load of that's very fast switching, so you can a single voice can run I think it's up to 8 samples, I forget how many
15
exactly it said, 15 samples, and it's got a really nice DAC. It just seems like an interesting idea, although I wonder about the kind of, the fact that it is Linn, whether or not there's some copyright and stuff, but I guess they are the original EEPROMs. This thing is just out. I'm trying to see. I didn't actually get the price on it, but it looked kind of interesting.
Yeah.
This is
279.
279. Thank you. That's covering yet another small portion of my embarrassment during this show where I haven't done my research. Anybody have anything to say about this one? But I mean, just as another, yes. I mean, he has it as part of a larger set. Oh, go Gaz.
Well, only just the most obvious thing is, like, isn't it funny how a few years ago companies started putting valves or little window to see a valve in there, and like this, is like proudly displaying the EEPROM on the front. It's sort of like, like kind of wearing it on his sleeve just to kind of show off about it. I've never seen that, I don't think, before. They could have probably found some way of concealing that in the design, but it's it's kind of pushing it out in front so you see it. I think that's a bit of a first.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Yeah. Nice. So anything you want to add, Robin? Or I mean,
are you looking at the same thing? I don't know. I thought it was round the back, isn't it? Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Is it?
It's yeah, it's got the picture of the front and the back. The back's got the EEPROM on. Unless we're looking at a different thing. But I like what you're saying. I think it's a nice idea.
I thought it was front. I thought it was on the front.
Never mind.
It's either way.
Front bottom.
Front.
Okay, that's enough, kids.
But yeah, CV's selection of a bunch of samples for a drum channel sounds really nice to me. I think, as it say, about fast switching, so you don't have to have any lag between it, so you can run it as a monophonic drum machine all by itself. I think that's pretty cool. I like that a lot.
Yeah,
I like the fact that it has a pause.
Some of those tuned down sounds sounded just, the snare and the kick just did sound particularly tasty, didn't they?
Yeah,
it's got a certain something about it.
I think I just want to say quickly that I think there's something about monophonic drum machine, or whatever you want to call it, which lends itself to really cool parts. The fact that you can't have the hi-hat on the snare and the kick at the same time, it's very cool. If you just do that with whatever thing you're using and have a drum pattern, and then just take out the hi-hats whenever anything else is playing, it's so cool, and it sounds great in the mix. I mean, not for everything, obviously, but for some things it sounds really, because sometimes part of the snare sound that we're hearing is the hi-hat on top of the snare. True. And when you take it out, there's a lot more space. And also the hi-hat suddenly, instead of being just 8 or 16, it's talking, it has like an interesting part in its own right. So there's something about that as well.
Interesting. Well, I'm glad we got that in there. So as another drum.
Can we just get to the bottom of this mystery then? I mean, I thought it was that, and I thought it was like, I thought that was it. Is that the back? But it calls it the reach around as well.
Oh, no. Right. No, hang on.
Which is a bit of an error. And and it's
that's an extension module. It says.
Oh, is it?
Reach around.
Which
allows easy access to the ROM located on the back, so that allows you to put it on the front.
Okay.
For reasons unknown.
So you're
like
both right.
So you can switch. So you can switch that EEPROM out to mid gig. But no.
Yeah, God, imagine dropping one of those, wearing a mohair jumper and getting it all tangled up and having to kind of just pluck it out of the threads. Oh, the comedy value would be amazing, wouldn't it? I mean, yeah. Or a string vest, perhaps, would be more appropriate. Anyway, time for another message from our sponsors. Back just after this. This is your summer of sound. Everything you need to make it happen. Deals so hot you'll need sunscreen. What will you create with Native Instruments? Sale ends June 30th. Yes, so we could. I mean, do you think we should? Let's see, what's the time? We could go into UK retail, but I feel just somehow it's going to bring us all down a bit, really.
No,
sort of that PMT, who are another big retailer, fourth largest UK, have gone down. I'll mention it. Perhaps we'll save it for another time, because we might be able to have a little more. There'll be a bit more information on it. But yeah, it went on the 11th, which was a bit of a shame, really. However, we've got Yoad, this was one from you. I'm assuming it's not going to play, so I don't even know. I'm going to bother, but I'll give it a go. The stereo monoizer. Let's see if it works.
Ooh.
Oh. Okay.
Hey everyone, this is Blake Eisman, and I'm one of the co-founders of Soundizers. Today we are very excited to show you our new product, Stereo Monoizer, and I'm going to go over some of its features and show you how it works. So let's say you receive some files from your client to mix. Chances are you probably get a folder of WAV or AIF files. Most DAWs export tracks as stereo files, whether the source is actually stereo or mono. And so the first thing you have to do when you get these files from your client is to spend a lot of time sorting them out instead of just getting into the mix.
Okay, I mean, that's the sort of summary of it. Stereo monoizer, there is a link somewhere, but I can't find it. Doesn't seem to want to play at the moment. Maybe that'll do it. I don't know. Doesn't seem like it will. Just want to put the thing in the thing. No,
that's Luma-mu.
Never mind. Yeah, I know it is. Yeah, that's the wrong one. But for some reason, they're all out by one. I'm not quite sure why that is, but I'll get to the bottom of it somewhere. Yoad, you put this one up. I'm guessing mix prep. I mean, we did a great video with you on mix prep, and is this all part of that process? Because I was trying to sort of think, what would regular folks maybe use this for? Does it have uses outside of just that, or is that the core and the key?
But that's a big thing, on our mix prep episode, and I have one on my channel as well, and I always talk about it. That's a really important thing, whether you're producing your own stuff and it's time to mix it, or whether you're a mixer and you get files from other people. The files you get mostly are all stereo, whether the information is mono or stereo, because once you export it, if you consolidate and then send the folder the consolidated regions or audio files, then they are as they appear on your session or as they are recorded. But if you export through the mixer, then everything will be stereo. So the vocal will be stereo, even though it's actually mono, but it will have the same information on the left and on the right. And what that means is when you get the folder, I receive tons and tons of folders like that all the time. So just the space alone for information that I don't need, that's one thing. The other thing, which is even more important, is that when you mix, and let's say you mix your vocal, I have a lot of stuff on my vocal, and that's another opportunity to plug my video that's coming out tomorrow about my vocal chain. But there's a lot of plugins, and if everything is stereo, then I use twice the processing power that I need to. So what Stereo Monoizer does is it's an offline, it's a standalone application. You drag your folder onto it, and it analyzes the content of the audio tracks, and it will tell you this track is a legit stereo track. It's a piano or a pad or overhead track or whatever, okay. So it won't touch it. But if it's a mono track, so if the information is identical on both channels, it will allow you to export it. So it allows you to export, either replace the original files or export, which is what I do, export it to a new folder. So the stereo tracks will be untouched, will remain the same as they were. The mono files, or the files with mono information, will be exported as mono files, which will save you space on hard drive and will save you CPU when you mix. But also it's even more clever than that. Sometimes you have like a hi-hat track, which is panned. The hi-hat itself is mono, but it's panned or half panned or something like that. So it will suggest to mono it using the left channel rather than both, because then you'll have a drop in level, and you can actually choose how much it will compensate for the drop in level. So it's quite clever. I find it really, really useful, and I just use it now since I got it. Actually, it's two of my viewers separately, like unrelated, that commented on my mix prep video, and I wasn't aware of this product. And now that I have it, I just use it every time I get a folder to mix. I get hundreds and hundreds of files sometimes in a single mix. I just throw it. It takes a few seconds, and really good. I highly recommend it.
I can see why in many ways that works, because obviously when you're bouncing stems, usually you're bouncing from stereo buses. It's sort of bounced out through sort of drum buses or whatever, even if the mono source track might be there. I mean, there's some DAWs do allow you to bounce the individual tracks rather than to the buses or whatever.
Even if you bounce, even if you bounce the individual tracks through the mixer, there will be stereo, because since it's going through a panner, all the mono tracks will be bounced as stereo files.
That's handy. Yeah, neat. No, it makes sense. I mean, Gaz, I imagine if you were doing more recording and stuff your end, that's kind of something that'd be useful. And maybe you are. I mean, I guess for label work, I doubt you're releasing any mono mixes, although there's a thing, isn't there? It's a thing. It might be a way forward.
Yeah, well, a friend of mine is deaf in one ear, and I always find it interesting. Why are you laughing?
That's not funny. No, I was just thinking. So
I'll tell them that you laughed when I said that.
You can save data on any audio you send in by just sending in one channel. But
but it's what I always find quite interesting. They've got quite an interesting perspective on mixing, because sorry, this is a sort of deviation a little bit, but stereo is very seductive, and things sound great when they're panning around. But when you don't get that stereo, then you kind of hear things in a much more, So obviously, doing a certain amount of mixing in mono is a really good idea, but that's completely irrelevant to this point. The point about this, though, is it is a really useful little tool. I can see that there's so many times that would have been super useful. Cubase has got a certain amount of things that can turn stereo tracks into mono now, process in place kind of stuff, which speeds up the workflow a lot. Granted, this is a much more sophisticated version, and also if you can now, when you bounce out stems from Cubase, you can specify certain tracks to be before you can take them you can get them out of mono and stereo, so it'll be pre-mix.
But that will be before the automation. So if you want to include the fader automation, then it will go through the mixer, which means that you will end up with a stereo file.
No, fair point. Wow. I was just meaning that sort of things have come on a little bit to kind of help with this situation, but a tool like this, though, great time saver. I mean, I was just going to maybe ask UAD, I mean, how much your heart drops when you get sent a mix and it is one of them. I've done this a few times. I don't do it so much anymore, but just an enormous amount of stuff, enormous amount of files. So any tool then that helps you just
absolutely
control.
I get those all the time.
Right.
Sometimes it's like 200 tracks.
Yeah.
Most of the times it will be like at least 80 tracks or something. So just to having to go, and this is what I show on my mix prep on SonicTALK, on Sonicstate, and on my channel as well, on the videos, that I have to go through each and every one using a scope, to a phase meter to see. I can obviously use my ears, like I say on the video, but you just go and a snippet of the hi-hat. Yes, that's mono. Why is it on a stereo track? I mono it. And you know what I mean? That doesn't save me the hard disk space because the file is stereo. It will just save me the CPU when mixing. But I would rather just deal with it before I even import the files into the session.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I mean, like a tool like this is kind of absolutely brilliant for those situations. I was wondering, though, is there any creative possibilities of this rather than just purely kind of, is there ways to do things that in any way? Is there any?
I could imagine if you expanded this a little bit and said all the tracks that begin with B, pan hard right. You know what I mean? You could prefix panning sort of preset images, or I don't know. There could be things that you could process based on criteria that might be useful. I suppose I don't know, but not for utility, perhaps. Yeah, I don't know.
I wouldn't want that kind of utility plugin or application to be creative. I want it to do exactly what it does, to help me organize the files before they even reach the DAW.
I was just trying to sex up the topic a little bit, just
Robin,
boring is
I don't know about you. Do you record multi-channel audio into it? Because one thing that we do here is when I'm in the studio, I record 4 channels of audio that's embedded into our video. So I've got 2 mics and a stereo mix. And every single time I clip, I have to kind of assign. I want the mono track to be this one. I want the other one to be this one. I want this one to be in stereo. And that is such a tedious process. I wish they would do something that allowed me to set defaults for certain projects. So anything I bring in is going to have those assignments to those tracks.
Can't you use a template in DaVinci?
No, because it doesn't.
It doesn't really have a template system, does it?
No, just the same as a project and load it every time, like you create.
No, because the video file that you bring in, you have to assign the video channel. So if I've got 4 tracks, it just goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you have to say, well, this one needs to be 3 and 4. Middle one I don't need because I haven't got a mic, and 1 is my voice, say for instance. I'm sure I could script it, but I don't know. I mean, does this have any use in? I guess it'd be useful for maybe processing samples and stuff. I don't know. That might have.
I suppose it's a little bit out of my realm of expertise. I just kind of throw stuff into computers and see what happens, as opposed to thinking about it in any depth of any kind. So no, but it sounds interesting for those people who know what on earth it is you're talking about.
Fair enough. Okay, well, I think let's see where we are. I know why the videos are out, because I write the whole show in a spreadsheet and I've just offset things. I didn't name my videos properly, so it's my own fault because I didn't spend enough time on that and more time on the other things. Maybe we'll leave it now. It's hot. I'm sure we could all do with a cool glass of water, a bit of fresh air. We'll come back to things next week. Don't forget, Friday I'm going to be posting the Thomas Dolby video. That'll be available to Patreons tomorrow, so you get an early look at that, or Patreon supporters anyway. So, but I think that's it for now. Gaz, are you streaming again? I don't know what your plans are.
I want
these days.
to. Yeah, I really want to. I just feel a little bit adrift because Jason, as I mentioned before, he didn't steal my slot, but I just feel a bit homeless, and I just so I might do.
You need to.
I really want to actually, because
space.
I tell you what, though, Nick, I've said to you before, and I'll say it to you again. I got the Oxy One Mark II here, and it is next level. I mean, it is next level. So I really want to kind of show people just why that is next level. I keep discovering I keep finding more stuff in it. It's so deep. I think I should probably do some content or some streams around it, because I think it's such a convergence device, and I mean that in that it's kind of many things all feed into it.
It's everywhere, isn't it? Loads of people are really
incredible
digging on it. Yeah. definitely. So the answer to the streaming is no, not tonight. Anyway.
Well, I'll find out if Jason's streaming and then just go head to head with him. And
Okay.
no.
You could joint stream. You could do a joint thing, I suppose. I mean, collaboration is all the rage.
No.
Anyway, no, Robin, what's going on with you? What's next for you? What you got on the desk, or what reviews coming out?
What's next for me? I'm working on the Seashell from Instruo.
Oh yeah.
Which is fun. I've not got very far with it yet, but I've had a bit of a poke. So that's going. The Ohm boys are sending me their thing, as I mentioned. I've got a lot of things to build, a lot of buildy things, which is fun. So yeah, lots to do. Oh, I've got Bob and Steve. That's the other thing. A very strange deconstructed reverb.
As well.
Yeah, I've no idea what's going on with that at all. But I just keep plugging things in and turning knobs and trying to listen for what happens. So that's going to be fun, I think. Trying to nail that down in 500 words. Heck, that's the weight of sound on sound upon me.
Wow, 500 words.
I was just going to say, I am going to do Tuesdays then. People in the chat room are saying Tuesdays available, so I think I might relaunch my show for a Tuesday. I was doing it for Wednesday to be the after show, Sonic after show. That was always the purpose of doing it. But
I forgot actually. Yeah, there's the Moog Messengers coming at 6 tonight.
Oh, so, tonight 6. Wow!
Yeah, it's just a premiere. So
can I ask a little spoiler question then?
Yeah, sure.
If you were to do the variable thumb,
very much up.
Okay, interesting.
It's a bit of it's one of like the Sub 37 was. Kind of like, wow, this is a really nice. I think the Messenger's got a lot of that going on, and considering that they've changed the filter. With adding the bass compensation and change the oscillators by adding wavefolding, they've they could have that's messing with the kind of the essence of Moog. It's like something they keep in the in a little sort of crucible in the bowels of the Moog HQ that must never be messed with. It's like the golden master, the
Coca-Cola,
the kilogram weight or whatever it is that you can't touch.
Yeah.
Sort of, but it feels like they kind of pulled it off, and I think it's a really great machine.
What is the price? Is the price settled? I thought the price was in flux.
$699 in the UK.
$699,
which I don't think is bad for Moog when you consider what it would have cost prior to in music. Actually, it's like $899 in the or eight something in the US. So obviously the exchange rates are kind of messing a little bit with that, so it's a bit more expensive. So we're currently benefiting from whatever the vagaries of the market are.
$699.
So yeah,
interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, thank you, folks. That was great fun. Thanks for hanging in there. Sorry about my mess up. It wasn't really the technology. It was operator error this time. So I take full responsibility. We're getting there. Like I say, I'm trying to make this something that is operatable by other people as well, so that it's a useful thing. People can build shows and do whatever, so that's the idea anyway. Okay, well, that's it for this week. Thank you very much. Thanks to our sponsors. Thanks to our folks in the IRC. Nice and busy over there. Hope you all had fun. We will see you later. I think I press this button and it all goes away. So take care. Bye-bye now.